Hello, Home Slices. It is Kiara with Home Slice Adulting. And I don't know why I'm talking like that, but I'm coming to you guys with my review for Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 10, Episode number 15. The title is something about love, light, and positivity because apparently that's what Cynthia's all about these days. But let's start talking about it because I guess we kind of missed the girls not having seen them last week. So this episode was entertaining enough to hold my attention. I guess it could kind of be sort of maybe called a filler. Only a few things really happened, but let's get into it. They get on the bus because they're moving on up to the east side of Barcelona and out of the 7-bedroom house that they found to be just so disgusting. Based on their own personal standards. They're moving to better accommodations. And on the way there, Nene lets the girls know why Portia is not joining them. And we're going to give Nene a hand clap because of the way that she told her account of that conversation with Portia. Congratulations, Nene. She has finally found a way to be diplomatic. And the way she told the story, she expressed that Portia didn't say anything negative about anybody, not even Marlo. And I thought Nene was doing a really good job at being on Portia's side after having argued with her for the whole season. But I thought that it showed a sign of maturity, you know, for Nene to take this back to the group without it being messy or shady and she just being reasonable. And I was like, that's so nice. Because we all know that people go back and tell stories differently and, you know, things don't go right. But Nene said that she made the suggestion that Portia basically go to all of the girls and say, hey, okay, I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I really effed this thing up. And I understand that while it, you know, was mostly directed at Candy, that it impacted everybody. And Nene just feels like that little conversation between Portia and the girls happens. And while I agree that Nene's suggestion would help Portia's relationship with everybody in the group, I don't think Portia owes an explanation to anybody except for Candy. The girls don't need to feel Portia's remorse because Portia didn't do anything to them. The fact that they're taking so much ownership of this issue between Candy and Portia allows Candy to be hands off with the shade regarding Portia because other people are going to do her dirty work. And I really dislike that about Candy, is that she allows other people to do her dirty work instead of putting an end to it. But anyways, they get to the Hotel Arts and the rooms are amazing. Sheree says, oh, this is how I like to vacation. And it's like, you know, probably not on your own dime, but okay. So this whole situation with Sheree and Tyrone comes up. I hate that they're spending so much time in Barcelona talking about this dude that's locked up somewhere in America. I really don't like that. It bothers me that they're spending so much time talking about him. I feel like he's unimportant. And I feel like he is there to take advantage of Sheree, and she's just not wise enough to realize it. But let's move on. Shamia is better than I am because I can't get excited about a 50-year-old woman falling for prison bail. Okay. But Shamia was supportive. Okay. But while Sheree's on the phone, Candy's old freaky behind wants to dress Sheree up and do sexy photos to send us Tyrone because she has some experience in the area of dating somebody who is in jail. And then I laughed so hard when Marlo chimed in about how people sneak phones into prison and how they can send some of the photos via cell phone to Tyrone. And she said, well, I know this because I have an incarcerated nephew. And I laughed so hard because I'm like, Marlo, are you sure that you don't know this information firsthand because you got like 27 mugshots? Do you really need an incarcerated nephew to tell you something that you probably know firsthand? You know, that's how people be like, you know, I don't know that myself, I just have a friend that told me that. No, we know what the deal is, Marlo. I just thought that was really funny. Sheree is talking and the phone just cuts off. And I'm like, this is worse than playing phone tag when you were a teenager. You know, like when you're in middle school and you're on the phone talking to your friends and your mama's like, all right, at 7:30, you gotta get off the phone. I can't. What kind of relationship can you have over the phone? I can't. Moving on, Candy asks if Nene and Sheree ever had a conversation about Tyrone because of the whole way things kind of got heated in the elephant room. And then Nene starts kind of telling on herself, let's talk about it. Okay, she low-key lied about never having been out with Tyrone. Okay, and she's like, he and I never went out. I have a husband and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, who said anything about y'all two going out? And in Candy's confessional, she was like, yeah, you're telling on yourself. So, for those of y'all who do not watch any of the extras or not deleted scenes or any of the extra video footage that the ladies do on Bravo, sometimes a lot of those things can give you a lot of insight on what's going on the show. So I'm going to put a link in the description box to a clip where Nene talks about the extent of her relationship with Tyrone. And to sum it up really quickly, Nene admits to having gone to dinner with Tyrone. So I think that was the nature of her saying that he and I never went out, because they actually kind of did. She said that she wasn't interested in him romantically. She said this is while she was going through a divorce from Greg. I'm going to put the link to the clip in the description box. I don't know if you have to have like a cable sign in to view it, but just check it out and see Sheree's side of the story. I don't understand why Sheree would have a side of the story, but because she's Tyrone's mouthpiece, because he's, not out of jail yet, you get to hear Sheree tell Tyrone's version of the story versus Nene telling her side of the story. So check out that clip. But anyway, Nene is super defensive, doesn't want to answer any more questions about Tyrone. She chews Candy out, and Nene says nothing happened between her and Tyrone because she was smarter than Sheree. And I was like, I know that's right. You're looking like the smarter girl in this situation, Nene, okay? But anyways, they bring up this sexy photo shoot to Sheree. I think it's a fun idea for the show, but I'm with Sheree. It's 2:00 in the morning, okay? I don't have time for this. And after such an eventful day, I mean, let the girl get some rest. But she agrees to go along with it. Y'all, I had to pause the TV when I saw that Marlo had a confessional, and then she looked like the first lady of a church in the confessional. I feel like Marlo is trying to claw her way to a peach in this situation. But moving on, like I said, I'll say this. I do not think that Marlo needs to have a peach because I don't like her. I feel like she is kind of nasty and she lacks substance. However, if she did have a peach, the show would become that much more interesting. So I think she'd be good for TV, but only because she's like a rotten peach. I don't know. I hope that made sense. Moving on. Marlo has her room set up like a boutique, like she always does. And while Marlo is putting together the look, the ladies are practicing poses and photography. And Sheree does not fill out Marlo's clothes as well as Marlo does. But that's the thing. When you buy clothes that suit you. I don't know if it's a shapewear kind of situation. They're just not built the same. But yeah, they showed a comparison of Sheree wearing Marlo's clothes as opposed to Marlo, and it looked real different. Like it wasn't even the same outfit. But Eva, is doing the poses, and of course she's doing well. And then Cynthia refuses to be outdone by Eva's posing prowess. But Eva's poses were way better than Cynthia's. But I don't know why Marlo already has duct tape. That's weird. But Sheree finally comes out, and Nene is hilarious. She's like, if I look at her, I might have to go save her. So they made lemonade out of lemons. The lemon that is Sheree. I did not like the outfit. I thought that she should be wearing less clothing for a dude that she's not gonna be able to sleep with for 4 years, but okay. But they made it work. You know, designers make it work. Sheree's not gonna even share them, and to be quite honest, I feel like Sheree is a boring lay. So moving on, the girl just lacks personality. She just lacks that zhuzh, okay? But moving on, that night they had another rump shaking session, and they talk about Sheree, you know, while they're wake up the next morning, they're eating breakfast. Some girls are eating together. Some girls are in a different group. They talked about Sheree's photo shoot and how Sheree was uncomfortable and Sheree didn't really like the look, but she was just being a good sport. Now, when they were playing back the footage of the girls having a little rump shaking session the night before, and they made it look like it's like an early 2000s music video, I thought that was so funny. It was so funny to me the way that they played back that footage. But Shamia decides to be messy again, and she brings up how upset Nene was regarding Tyrone to Sheree. And they discuss what happened with Nene the night before, and Sheree rehashes the whole situation involving Tyrone that happened 6 years ago. Now, Tyrone claimed that Nene spoke to him about not getting paid the same amount of money as Kim and Sheree. I will say that if Nene did ask for her fee to be higher than Kim and Sheree's, that does not necessarily mean that Kim and Sheree's wages should be lower. She just wanted more money than them. So if all three of us are offered $10 and I feel like my time is worth $12, that doesn't mean that I get 10 and the other girls get 8. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? It's not necessarily taking money or food out of your mouth. It's just, I want more food than mine. Okay. So I guess we'll never know what if Nene was really asking for their wages to be decreased or just hers to be increased. But here's my theory. Tyrone wanted to hop on the money train with Nene, and it didn't work out. Through his connection to Nene, he connected to Sheree, and because he got snubbed by Nene, he snitched and or made up a story about Nene arguing about fees to create a divide between them, which actually worked. Was Nene interested in Tyrone at some point? It's possible. The lady was getting divorced. She was probably very needy. And she might have been. It's possible. But she dodged a prison bullet. Okay, moving on. So there's some civil unrest in Barcelona because the government is doing voter suppression, which is never cool. But it's not a good time for a trip, ladies, okay? There was some creepy moments going on with the sirens and all that kind of stuff. But they're back on the bus, and they talk up lesbian talk. Cynthia's being trisexual, licking her lips at Candy. They're going to try hamon, which is aged ham, and apparently it smells bad. Nene was being real squeamish, but Sheree had me laughing when she was talking about Greg's old meat. That was funny. Nene and Sheree are as good as long as the topic of Tyrone doesn't come up. And I feel like that's a reasonable thing to ask. If you and I are cool, as long as we don't bring up one person's name, then you and I are cool, you know? Just don't bring up the person's name. I feel like that's based on the way that they were not cool with each other for 4 years. I feel like asking somebody not to bring up somebody else's name is like a little price to pay for peace in a relationship. But moving on, Shamia, Sheree, and Candy are at a different restaurant, and they talk about, you know, the civil unrest. And Messy Eva brings up Tyrone's name again to Nene, and Nene is defensive again. And Nene checked Eva about Eva being hypocritical, saying the same way that you didn't like how Shamia brought up your relationship with Missy Elliott, it's the same way that I do not want to talk about Tyrone. And it's kind of disrespectful for you to do so. Now, in Eva's defense, Eva did not ask Nene any questions about Tyrone. She simply made a statement that Sheree and Nene had made up just recently after the initial falling out over Tyrone in the first place. So she didn't ask Nene anything, but she did bring it up. Moving on. Marlo speaks about Sheree being awfully quiet regarding the situation with Kim. Now, Nene was right about Sheree not riding on anybody's side, because when you form an opinion on something, that stops you from collecting the dirt, from collecting bones, okay? When people know that you have a certain opinion about something, they are not as open as they are with you if you are a person who is considered to be neutral. If you're going to be a bone collector, you have to stay neutral, because if you express an opinion that's contrary to somebody's, then they're not going to be as open with you about what's going on in their lives. So Sheree just has kind of figured things out regarding that. Now, initially, I didn't feel like Sheree had any obligation to tell Nene about this video that was taken with the water bugs. But when Nene put it the way that she put it in her confessional, I understood why Nene felt that Sheree should have told her. Because the only reason that Kim and Brielle and Croy were inside of Nene's house at this housewarming event was because Sheree invited her. And you brought somebody into her home that has caused this much turmoil in Nene's life. You do have a little bit of an obligation to give Nene a heads up about this video that's circulating. Now, on the other hand, Sheree didn't find out about the video until the dinner that she had with Kim that Nene was supposed to be at, but then Nene stood them up. At that dinner, Nene made it clear that there was an elephant between Sheree and Nene. Now, if Sheree wasn't feeling Nene because of that whole elephant comment, and maybe neglected to tell Nene about that video, then I kind of understand that as well. So, you know, I try to see things from all sides. I think Sheree should have told Nene, considering how she brought Kim into her house. But, you know, Sheree and Nene weren't on the best terms. Okay. But anyways, Cynthia says that she wants to have some type of spiritual religious moment and reveals it to the girls while they're on the bus on the way to the spiritual moment. So she opens the floor for people to share something positive, because it's about love, light, and positivity, which she says like 50 times on this show. And Candy chimes in with a song that's about not effing with fake people. And that's not positive. I was like, that's not positive. And Cynthia was like, yeah, that's not positive. And what's more, Nene chimes in. That was so funny to me. Y'all, I cringe when I hear Candy sing. Oh, God. It's cringeworthy. It really is. But moving on, they go to Costa Brava, and it is beautiful. And they had like a really interesting little thing that they did with the candles. And I thought that it was very cute, and that it, you know, gave off this air of love, light, and positivity that Cynthia was talking about the whole time. So each lady had a candle with someone else's name on it, and they had to get up there and say something positive about the person whose name that they had. Based on who had who, I feel like that there was some type of manipulation of the candles, that people just didn't pick them up randomly. But anyway, Candy had Sheree. Marlo had Candy. Marlo, even though she has some type of odd, like, subconscious beef with Candy, she managed to say something positive. Eva has Shamia. Eva did a real bad job of being positive at first. She used words like whack, childish, sad, tired. We didn't get off on the best foot. All of that was negative. And I was like, I'm waiting for her to be positive. She was being real, but she wasn't being real positive. And she apologized, and she hoped that things would get better, and Shamia fell for it. You can't say 1,000 bad things, negative things, and then end it with, I'm sorry, and let's move forward. Doesn't work that way, but okay, whatever works for the goose. I didn't like that. I felt like that was real negative and not on theme. But moving on, Sheree has Marlo, and Sheree managed to squeeze blood from a turnip to give Marlo a compliment. But anyways, moving on, Shamia has Eva. I wasn't here for the little cheerleader, EVA, energetic, vibrant. I don't know what it stood for. I didn't really like it. But she apologizes as well, and hopefully they can get started off on the right foot, because I feel like they're two sides of the same messy coin. I mean, let's keep it real. They've been the messiest two people on this whole Barcelona trip, so I think they'll get along just fine. Moving on, Nene has Portia. Nene did a good job about, y'all, Nene was being real diplomatic when it came to Portia. I don't know what was going on. I think she just felt in this situation that she really understood Portia, and she said that whenever Portia is ready, hopes that Portia find peace, and whenever Portia is ready, she feels like that they will all be ready to move on and forgive her. And I just thought that was like really nice, and it would have been nice if Portia was there, but I don't think that people would have talked this openly about the situation if Portia was there. So maybe it was a good thing that she had left. But moving on, Candy says that she doesn't know what happened, that she doesn't like what happened. I'm sorry. She doesn't like what happened between her and Portia, but that doesn't mean that she has to be vindictive. And then she jokes about not being able to let the whole situation go. Now, the issue I have with that is that Candy doesn't have to be vindictive because everybody else does it for her. Old habits die hard. And if she can't forgive her group member from escape from an 18-year-old beef, I don't know that she'll get over the Portia thing so soon. So lastly, Cynthia has Nene, and Cynthia is giving this genuine speech about them having a real friendship, and Nene is just eating it up, okay? And Cynthia gives herself a spiritual hoe bath, and they get out of there. So next time on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Nene and Portia have kind of made up. Hopefully Portia can get to the point where she's not so selfish with people's attention, and that her and Cynthia can kind of really get back. Not her and Cynthia. Her and Nene can stay on the same track, because we all know that Nene's friendship goes in cycles. Sheree carries these Spanish bones back to Kim the same way that she carried South African bones back to Kim a few years ago. Nene gets upset about being fired from Candy's tour, but not really. I can't remember if we've ever seen Nene legitimately get to the point where she was so upset that she was crying, but I feel like something about that moment that they showed us was not genuine. It did not appear that she was crying. To me, it seemed like she was putting on and feigning remorse, which is not cool. But lastly, Kim and Candy have a conversation. I'm not necessarily sure what for, but Candy is already upset. Who are you cursing at? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I really enjoyed doing these videos. I know I said that I was going to do more of them with my fancy camera, but because I had so many videos to do today, I had to do 3 videos. I figured it'd be a little bit easier to go ahead and do them live. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to put your comments down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this review or what you thought about the episode. And I appreciate everyone who watches my videos. Thank you guys so much. And peace out, home slices.